Hi, I'm Keith Canan, and I'm a developer lead on the Bing Maps platform team, and I'm here today to show you about the Bing Maps Silverlight control. And today we're going to show a lot of demos and show some code, and hopefully you'll see how easy it is to build Silverlight applications with Bing Maps. As you can see on the title slide here, I'm actually rotating and zooming in on a map. That's actually the Silverlight control. So by the end of the session, I'll show you how to do that. So you can actually pan and zoom and use this control. Go ahead and jump in. So our objectives today, as I said, are to easily create mapping applications with the Bing Maps Silverlight control and to learn how to leverage the power of Silverlight in your location-based applications and leverage the performance and interactive experience of Silverlight. I want to give a quick agenda. I'm not going to show that many slides, but I just want to kind of give you an idea of where we're headed today, the next 45 minutes. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the Bing Maps platform and talk about what we have. And then I'm going to show a demo of a customer site that's using the Bing Maps Silverlight control in production today. Then we're going to dive into the code. We're going to start with Hello World, and then I'm going to show you how to control the map, how to put content on the map, and then also how to use Bing Maps web services with the control. So I'll be getting progressively more advanced as it starts. The Bing Maps platform consists of these major pieces. We have the Bing Maps web services, which are our SOAP-based web services, geocode routing, search, and we also have the Bing Maps Ajax control, which is our JavaScript control that you can build applications with. And then what's new is our Bing Maps Silverlight control. We released it as a CTP last March, and now it's 1.0 and production ready, so you can go live with your websites today with it. And we also have the new Bing Maps Account Center. The Bing Maps Account Center makes it easy, very easy to get started with the Bing Maps platform. You just log in, create an account, and you can get a key. You can then use that key or application ID with the services Ajax control and Silverlight control. So it's a lot easier to get started. And you can start out for free, so you can try it out for free. And if you're a nonprofit or a small business or education, you can continue to use it for free. If you're enterprise, it's free up to a certain transaction limit, but you can get started and try it out for free just by going to the Bing Maps Account Center. Let me just tell you what the Silverlight control is before we actually start showing the demos. It's the next generation Bing Maps control. It uses Silverlight 3. It's a user control. It's all built with managed code to support Silverlight-based websites. It uses deep zoom from Silverlight, which is uses the multi-scale image control. And it provides a nice, rich experience. It also provides performance improvements over other web technologies because you can write code and manage code. You can put lots of content on the map, and you get the nice, rich experience of Visual Studio and Expression Blend development environment. As I said before, version 1.0 is production ready today. I wanted to. Who in here has used the CTP version? Has anyone? Okay, I see a couple. That's great. I just wanted to thank you for all the feedback on the CTP we released in March. We got a lot of great feedback, and a lot of the additions into the 1.0 control are based on your feedback, so thank you very much. Some of the new additions we put in since the CTP release are we added some data binding support. We added a simple push pin class. We support Silverlight 3 out of browser. And we also improved interoperability with our Bing Maps web services. So you can share types without having to marshal your own types to talk to the web services. We've also added embedded maps with one-line URL embedding. So if you have a website and you just want to put a map on it or with a view or a simple push pin, you can now do it with a simple URL without just in HTML. And we also added a JavaScript interface to the Silverlight control. It's a subset of the managed code interface. Now I wanted to show a demo of Fire Locator from Pitney Bowes. Let me pull it up. Oops, wrong machine. Okay, this site right here was written by Pitney Bowes, and it basically shows wildfires in the United States and Australia, and it's using the Bing Maps Silverlight control. As I zoom in, you notice you get the nice deep zoom experience. They're using our control. There's some fires. You can click on them, get information about the fires. You can also see some overlay information, such as the California wildfire risk zone. So in this case, the dark blue are more at risk, and I can fade it in and out. I can also see fire boundaries. I can see pictures from Flickr related to the fires. Like for example, here's a helicopter with some smoke. Anyway, it kind of shows the rich experiences you can build with Silverlight. There's also, let me switch over to the Australia map, because they have some details of some hot spots. And you can tell it's pretty recent information. This was updated this morning. And you can also zoom in here. Let me zoom in. For example, you can see some fire boundaries. Like here's a polygon on the map showing some fire boundaries, and you can learn about the fire. So this is kind of one example of the rich applications you can build with the Silverlight control. So now I'm going to jump into and actually show you how to build pieces of this. So you could build a site similar to this using our components of the Silverlight control. So let me go ahead and switch out of this. Okay. Let me switch back. This one, okay. Yeah, so now we're going to go deep dive into the code. As I just said, I just wanted to show the slide. I'll start with Hello World. And this Hello World is using the new embedded map. So all I have is a simple HTML file here. And as you can see here, I have an iframe in the code. And the iframe pretty much points to our servers, dev.virtualhost.net, embedded map, and we're loading the Silverlight control in road mode. So this URL here in an iframe will bring up this. Let's see, let's bring it up. Here it is. So here's with one line of HTML, you pretty much have the map control. You have a nice built-in nav control. You have deep zoom with the mouse. You have different modes. You have the aerial, styles, road. So that's all with that one line of XAML. HTML, because this is the embedded maps. If I wanted to do something a little bit more with embedded maps, all I have to do is use some of the REST-based parameters we have here. Like for example, I can add, let's say I want to zoom in. I want to switch to aerial, and I want to zoom in to zoom level 17. And our zoom level property controls the level of detail of the map. And we have a center property which controls where the center of the map is. And this is just latitude, longitude. And I'm going to go ahead and add a push pin. And so this is the location of the push pin. So these are all REST-based parameters to the embedded maps HTML. Let me go ahead and save it. Let's go back to it and refresh it. So you can see here with just one line of HTML, I basically zoomed in on the PDC 09 at the LA Convention Center. You can see a push pin on it. So if you just want to do a simple map and get a map embedded in your site, you can do that without actually writing any managed code. You can do it with HTML. Now let's jump into, let's say you want to do some more complicated stuff. Let's go ahead and start pulling out managed code. So I want to build the Hello World using managed code. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new project. It's going to be a Silverlight project. So let's go ahead and make sure we have C# selected, Silverlight. Okay, Silverlight application 1. Say OK. Yes, you want to create a local website to host your application so you can debug. So I say OK. Now I want to add references to the control. So what you'll do is you'll actually download the SDK. You'll go to our website, and I have links later in the presentation. And you download the SDK. That includes a help file, includes our DLLs. So I can actually go here, add references to our DLLs. We have 2 DLLs. That's a little bit different from the CTP. There's a Microsoft.maps map control common and Microsoft maps map control. So you add these 2 DLLs. And then in your XAML, I'm going to go ahead and delete. Let me go ahead and minimize this. I'm going to go ahead and delete this line because I want it to be the full page. I just need to add the XML namespace for the map. So I'm going to say Microsoft Maps map control and assembly Microsoft Maps map control. So that makes M assigned to the namespace. And then I can basically just put a map up. So let's go ahead and make a map. So this is all in XAML. Let's go ahead and hit F5, see if it works, see if there's any build errors. Enable debugging, OK. I'll pull it up. So with 2 lines of XAML, I have a project, a Silverlight map up and running, deep zoom, just like I showed. And notice here, a message popped up, says invalid credentials. It says sign up for developer account at Microsoft.com Maps Developers. And this is that Bing Maps key I was just telling you about. So what you would do is you just go to bingmapsportal.com. You'd sign in with your Windows Live ID, create an account, and it's free. And you just, with one extra click, you get a key, and it's just a string. So in my Silverlight application, I would then just embed that key right here. So let me go ahead and stop debugging. And I didn't get a key, but I'll just show you the property. It's credentials provider, and here you would just say insert your key here. And I actually have another sample with a key. Let me go ahead and close this solution. And I have the sample built here. And you see here, in this case, instead of showing you guys my key, I decided to go ahead and just embed it in a static resource in app.xaml. So all of my samples, you'll see an app.xaml here, and inside that XAML, there's actually the key. And so you'll see this credentials provider equals static resource my credentials. So when you have that up and running, oops, that's the wrong sample. Hello world will pop up. In this case, there's no error. So now I have the credentials. So you can see here, there's the deep zoom experience. There's hello world. Now let's do a little bit more advanced samples. Let's say I want to show you how to control the map view. So, and set the initial map mode. So notice when this sample popped up, it was kind of like that embedded map sample where it's centered on the convention center and it's at a certain zoom level, and I default to the aerial mode, not the road mode. And so how did I do that? Well, it's pretty simple. There's a mode property on the map, and in this case, I'm setting it to aerial with labels. The center and zoom level properties also. The center controls the center of the map, zoom level controls the level of detail. So just with a couple of properties in XAML, I can change the way the map loads at init. The mode is more of it's an abstraction we use. In the Ajax control, we refer to them as map styles, but the mode really is, it's a projection and a set of content layers. So if you think about it, like all our modes right now, we have aerial mode and road mode. They're both Mercator-based modes. So the modes project content in the Mercator projection, and the content that presents that projection, we're using deep zoom. So we're using a multi-scale image control. However, this mode, it enables us to build future map modes. It's like a modularity pluggable extension point. And it's also for customers who want to build, you can also plug into that map mode if you want to do some advanced mapping. Let me show you how to set the map mode programmatically. So in this case, I hid the default navigation control and I just made some buttons. And I can actually, this one's aerial with fading labels. Notice if I pan, the labels come on, and if I let go, they kind of fade slightly. But let me just show you how this works, because I showed you how to set the properties in XAML. Let me just show you the way it works in managed code. In this example, I have a road button, and so when you click, I call road button click. And you can see here, I'm using the mode property in the code behind. I just say my map mode equals new road mode. For aerial, I just instantiate to aerial mode. And if I want to turn labels on, I just set the labels property to true on aerial mode. Or if I want to fade the labels, I can set fading labels to true. So that shows how you can access map modes in the code behind. Okay, I've told you how to pretty much set the map mode and set the initial view. Let me show you how to set the view programmatically. So in this example, the map came up and I want to zoom in on certain sites. I'm just going to click on certain locations. And notice we have some nice parabolic animations built into the map. So if I click on London, it'll zoom in on London with a nice deep zoom effect. And how do I set the view programmatically at runtime? In my XAML, I just made a bunch of buttons, and I set the tag on the button to latitude and longitude and zoom level in a serialized string. In the XAML, I basically just parse that string and split it out into a couple of objects. We have a location object, so you can set the center in XAML, but you can also set it behind the scenes. So this is a location object, and it just has latitude and longitude, and I'm going to get it from the string. I'm also going to get the zoom level from the string, and then I'm going to call set view on the map. So set view lets you set the center and zoom level in one operation. And by default, it has that default animation. So if you want that nice parabolic animation by default, you don't have to do anything. The map The map does it by default. So if you want to turn it off, there's actually an animation level, so I can make it snap. So let's say I want to snap to London. There we go. Or I want to snap to Las Vegas. So that property is an animation level property in the map. So you can say animation level full, which is the default, which is the nice parabolic animation, or you can say none, and none will snap it. The nice thing about none is you can actually use the center and zoom level properties. So we have this set view method, but there's also a center and zoom level property. You can also use storyboards to animate the map yourself if you want to do advanced map animations. So that's how to set the map view. If you want to respond to the map and do some advanced things, like say you want to know when the map's animating, or the map's user clicked on the map. There's a lot of events on the map. Let me go ahead and just pull that up. I just have a quick sample that registers for most of the events, and I'm just going to start panning around and zooming. You can notice here, you see a lot of events. There's view change start, view change end. View change start will happen when the map starts animating. So if I use the mouse wheel, by default it animates. So view change start fired. View change on frame will fire every frame of the animation. View change end will fire when the map stops animating. And I also have mouse events, mouse pan. There's also a target view change. So target view change will fire when the point the map is animating toward changes. So for example, let's say an animation's going on, it's animating toward a target. But let's say that target changes. Like as I'm zooming, I pan, and the animation continues. Target view change will fire when the destination the map's going toward changes. And that's a useful event in case you want to make a service call. Let's say you want to, say the map's animating and you want to have some data on the map at a certain location. You need to make an expensive service call. You can actually register for target view change or view change start, and so you know when the map's animating, and you actually load it. By the time the animation gets there, that your data will be there, possibly. So we also have, we have the drag box. That's if you hit the. These are some of these events are all by default built into the control, and you have full control over these events. So if we have some default behaviors for them, but if you want the map to do something else, you can register for the event and then set the handle flag to true, and basically say, hey, I'm gonna override it. So we let you override the behaviors. You can augment the behaviors by doing what you want to do and allowing the default to continue, but you can also override it. But let me just show how you register for these events. These are just on the map. Like here's the view change start end, and with callbacks. And so when the callbacks happen, I'm just showing stuff on the screen. So it's pretty simple. Let me go ahead and show you like what you can do with events. I'll go ahead and pull up a mini map sample. In this example, we have two maps. So this is two instances of the map object, and you can see that mini map up there is at a higher zoom level, and it will show pretty much what we're zooming in on the map. So if I'm zooming in over here, you can kind of see where it is. And how do I keep these maps in sync and keep them at a higher zoom level? Well, I use events. So here's the XAML. You can see here here's the main map, and there's a mini map, and I'll put a little rectangle over the mini map. And in the code behind, I'm actually just going to use target view change. So when the main map's target changes, I want to fire an event handler, target view changed. And when the main map's target view changes, I'm going to go ahead and set the view on the mini map to the center of the main map and take the zoom level of the main map -5. So that'll make the mini map be at a higher zoom level. Okay, it looks like that's hanging for some reason. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why that's not responding. Okay. Let me show another example with two maps. So now with the 1.0 control, we made all the properties, dependency properties on the map. So you can keep two maps in sync pretty easily. In this case, I have two map instances, and they're both staying in sync together. And how do you do that? It's actually really easy. I can use a binding expression So I have my first map, I'm going to make the center property bind to the center property of my map 2. So the second map, and it's a two-way binding, so they'll both update each other. And I bind the center and zoom level the same way. So now both maps will stay in sync. And so there's no C# I had to write. It's all in the binding expressions. Okay. Now we've talked about how to control the map, how to set the view, how to set the map mode. Let's talk about how to put content on the map. We'll start out with a simple pushpin example. In this example, I have 4 different kinds of pushpins. This orange one here is the default pushpin. So if you create a pushpin object, it's going to look like that. This one is a customization of the default pushpin. I made it blue and put a number in it. There's an image. I just made my own pin image. And here's a XAML, just a XAML PDC 09 flag I made. Let's go ahead and look at the code, how that works. So here's the simple pushpin. So this is the orange pushpin. Notice I still have my map, and the map has children. So underneath the map, I'm going to start putting content on it, and I'm creating a basic pushpin and just specifying its location. And if you do that, that creates this simple orange pushpin right here. But if I want to customize that pin and make it blue and put content on it, I made a content 1. That makes that blue pushpin with the 1 right here. Now this pushpin is a nice simple object that makes it easier to get pushpins on the map. It's also templatizable, so you can override what it looks like with your own XAML template. But what's neat about the Silverlight map control, it's designed so that you can put any UI element in the location space, so not just pushpins. Here I'm going to create an image, and I want to put it at a certain latitude and longitude. In this case, we're going to use Silverlight attached properties. So just like a canvas in Silverlight has left and top, which are attached properties. The map layer, we have a map layer object. It has a position property, which lets you specify latitude and longitude. So this property is not on the image. It's a property on map layer, but it's a static attached property. So it's using the attached property pattern of Silverlight. So you can see here, I'm just creating this image, putting it at that location. But we also have a attached property called position origin. I want that push pin to be anchored at the bottom left, because this red pin over here, you'll notice the point is kind of sticking out in the bottom left. So I want that point to stick. So I'm going to make the origin of that pin be bottom left. So these two properties anchor that position at the latitude and longitude. And here's the custom XAML example. Same thing. I have my own canvas here. I have a path and a text block, and it says PDC 09. Here's the attached properties right here. I'm going to go ahead and put the map layer position and position origin. In this case, I want the position origin to be bottom center for the flag, because the bottom center wants to stick at that lat long. So as you can see, you can basically make any XAML positioned on the map. So let's go ahead and show a little bit more advanced example showcasing the power of Silverlight. You can, in addition to putting things on a lat long, you can also map things to the surface of the Earth. So here's an example where I actually map an image of a desert, and notice how it scales with the map. So this is something that the power of Silverlight lets you do. Let me show you. Here's an image of a sea turtle just mapped to the surface of the Earth. And if you zoom in, let's zoom in near Vegas. Let's see, you can kind of see there's a video mapped to the surface of the Earth. So I mapped that video to the surface of the Venetian Hotel. So the amazing thing about this is it's really easy to do. It's pretty powerful, but if you look at the code, how do you do this? Well, here's my map, and I have my children. These are all my 3 images, and there's the media element for the video. And notice here's another attached property for the map layer called position rectangle. So position rectangle lets you specify a latitude-longitude bounding box to map items to the surface of the Earth. So in this case, I'm specifying like the top left and bottom right corners, and it basically maps any Silverlight UI element to the map. And just to prove that you can do any Silverlight UI element on the map, I wanted to show, oops. Hold on a second. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Okay, sorry about that. In this example, I actually have a Silverlight chess game. You've probably seen in other Silverlight demos when Silverlight 3 was released. In this case, you can actually have a chess game positioned on the map, and the chess game is playing, and I can actually zoom in on the chess game. So it just kind of shows you can map any Silverlight UI element on the map. Let's say you want to do some shapes. So in this example, I just have a simple polygon mapped on the surface, and I have a line. I'm going to start out with the simple stuff, and then I'll show you a little bit more advanced sample. There are two objects. There's the map polyline and the map polygon. And in this case, they have a locations property, and you can just specify the locations of where you want the polylines and polygons to be. And you also can use the stroke and stroke thickness of the brushes. So all the Silverlight properties can be used with the map polygons and map polylines. In fact, when they're actually rendered, they're rendered as Silverlight polylines and polygons. So, but they're special map polygons because they understand latitude and longitude. So let's look at a little bit more advanced example with shapes, where I'm actually going to put a brush in a polygon. In this case, I have a polygon that surrounds the state of Texas, and I use a gradient to go ahead and fill it. But notice you can actually, it scales pretty well. So I just wanted to show you that you can use the Silverlight brushes. In this case, I'm using a map polygon, and I specify I just went ahead and put the locations all in the XAML file. So there's a lot of locations, but you could read that data from a SQL spatial database or an XML file. But for the simplicity of the demo, I just pasted it here. This fill property, here's where I do the linear gradient brush, and I just basically make that gradient appear. But I also want to show you can do advanced things too. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and use a video brush and paint that polygon with a brush. Let's go ahead and build it. Okay, let's go ahead and try it again. See if the video comes in. There we go. So in this case, I'm actually loading a tech ed video, although this is PDC. But I just thought it would be. I just wanted to kind of show that you can do some pretty powerful stuff that you couldn't do with previous web technologies. There it is. Oh, and by the way, I wanted to say I'm going to put all these code samples on my blog, so don't worry about trying to capture the code. It'll be up there later tonight or tomorrow. But I'll also post it under the. If you go to the session on PDC, you can comment. I'll post the link there too. So if you can't find my blog, I'll let you know. But I have links at the end of the session. So I just wanted to show a quick sample that kind of shows a lot of polygons on the map. Let me go ahead and. This is using our own my own internal data source. So with neighborhood data. So let's go ahead and zoom in on the city of Houston. I'm going to go ahead and read the neighborhood data and populate all the neighborhoods with polygons. So I'm just using map polygon, and I'm going to fill them with colors. It should appear in a second. There we go. So you can kind of see here, there's a lot of polygons on the map, and I actually hooked a little pop-up to actually show what these neighborhoods are. And you can do some pretty neat effects with the polygons. I can actually I have some density data on where certain things are in the neighborhood. So you can see here the darker red has denser restaurants, and then I can also look for doctors, shopping, so it's pretty. With Silverlight, you can do some pretty powerful overlays with the map, and this is just kind of a simple example showing you how to do that. Okay, let's go ahead and now let's say you want to plug your own tiles into Deep Zoom. So we have. Has anyone here used the tool Map Cruncher to build your own tiles? Okay, I see a few hands. That's great. Okay, so the Silverlight control lets you plug in those tiles into Silverlight, into the Deep Zoom request queue. So you can actually, in this case, I have an overlay that just kind of shows some satellite data, and it's scaled into the map. So as you zoom in and out, and then the tiles are all there, and I can do things like change the opacity. So you can do some pretty neat effects. And this is how in the California overlay with the dense from the fire locator demo from Pitney Bowes, they have a nice tile overlay with California. That's how they did that. And the fire boundaries are all using map polygons. Oh, let me show you the code for that. So in this case, I just created a map, and I created a slider. The slider control just binds to the opacity of the tile layer, but we have a map tile layer object, and inside the map, the tile layer has a tile source. You can add tile sources to the tile layer. The tile source uses a URL format that's similar to, it uses our addressing scheme, and we use the term quad key to indicate the address of a tile. So if you run MapCruncher and generate your own imagery, so you can generate it from a PDF, a TIFF, or an image, and you can go ahead and generate your tiles, host them somewhere. Then you point your location rect tile source to it. Just URI scheme is for HTTP or HTTPS, and then the quad key is the address. And these are some optimizations you can make. I can say only load these tiles in this bounding area. So I can say this location rect, if that's on the screen, go ahead and show the tiles. I can also limit the zoom levels. So this basically minimizes requests. So if your tiles are only a certain area, you can restrict where they load from. But it's pretty simple. Once I create the tile layer, I go ahead and add it programmatically to the map. So before you were seeing children being added to the map in XAML, well, you can also add things in the code behind, just like that, by using the children property on the map. So let's go ahead and let me show another quick example. We've already seen the attached properties of map layer, the position and the position rect. But the map layer is also an object. The map layer is a simple way to group your content into layers. So I wanted to pull this sample up. In this case, I have 3 map layers, and they're all children in the map. So in my map layer, I can now have children inside the map layer. So in this case, I just kind of group some of the content under each layer from my previous demos. And if you go look out here, I can actually change the visibility of layers and actually toggle and hide things. You can group content into the control. And you can have layers within layers. So the map layer is really kind of a panel that knows how to position content in the latitude and longitude space. So it kind of makes it easy to group content. Okay, because some of my other examples are going to start using map layers. I just wanted to show that. Now I kind of wanted to show data binding. In this example, I actually just imported a KML file. Now the KML import isn't built into the control, but I wrote a quick and dirty KML parser that just parses place marks using link. And here I imported close to, I think, 2,000 volcanoes. These are all the volcanoes on the surface of the Earth, and you kind of see where they are. As I zoom in, you can I hover over them, I have names of the volcanoes, and you can kind of see the power of Silverlight here, where you can just position a lot of content on the map. And each volcano I'm just representing as an ellipse, and I set the opacity to like 0.8 or something. But let me go ahead and show that code, because it showcases our new map items control. So in this example, you can see here's the map. One of the children of the map is a map items control. And this right here is just a pop-up. I just kind of made a canvas, so there's only one pop-up, so that code's not that important. But here's the meat of the code, the map items control. I can specify an item template and item source. So this is very similar to how you would bind to a list box in Silverlight, but in this case, you're actually binding to the map. The template describes how to render the element. So notice my item template I'm going to specify as this static resource called element template. Well, where is element template? Well, it's up here in my resources. This tells you how to present the data. So I'm actually going to just make each point an ellipse. And I'm going to use the attached property map layer position. I'm going to bind to the location property. And I'm going to go ahead and use a tag on the ellipse. And that tag I'm just going to use that as the name of the element. I'm going to fill it as red and set the opacity. And I also provide some events for the mouse overs. So that shows you how to render it. And then the item source, here I'm going to set it to an observable collection. And that collection has a name of KML elements, a key. So here in my resources, I actually create this KML element collection, and here's the key. And I'm setting the source to an XML file. Now this volcano XML file is where all the data came from. But let me just show you my quick and dirty KML parser. I wrote it really fast, so right now it only parses points. But you notice here I made it an observable collection. If you set the URI, I basically go ahead and download the data asynchronously, and when it downloads, I go ahead and parse it. Here's where I use link to go ahead and parse the KML string, and I'm looking for place marks in the data. For each place mark in the data, I'm going to create a KML element, and that KML element I really just set down here is just name, description, location. And So I basically do that, and for each of the KML elements, I'm just going to go ahead and add it to the collection. So this returns an observable collection of KML elements. So once that loads, the data binding of Silverlight will automatically bind to this presentation, and that's what you'll see on that's what you see on the map when all the volcanoes appear. So that's data binding, and that's new. We didn't have data binding in the CTP. We had a lot of requests for it, and so we got it in there for you guys. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and switch to some web service samples. Okay. Let me start out with our geocode service. So I'll first show you what this does, and then I'll show you how the code works. Let's say I want to search for Los Angeles. Just click geocode. There it is. Or I want to search for, see if this works. I click geocode. There we go. So the geocode service basically takes a string input and finds a location. And so let me show you how I did this in the code. It's actually pretty simple. To use web services with Silverlight, there's service references. So I can go ahead and add a service reference. In this case, I've already done it, but in this case, you would point to the web service. And we have a geocode service, and here's the config file that gets generated. Our geocode service endpoint is dev.virtualenetworks.net web service, and this is all documented on our SDK online. And so I'm binding to our geocode service. When I add a service reference, Silverlight will automatically generate a proxy for you. So it makes it pretty easy to use. So let me go ahead and, in the XAML, I just have a text box with a button and an event. And when you click the button, I'm going to go ahead and create a geocode service client. And here's where I reference the binding. So that binding I just showed you in the config file was named this. So that's how the Silverlight knows which service I'm talking to. In this case, I'm going to make a geocode request. I'm going to set the query to the text from the text box. And here's where I go ahead and set the credentials. So remember, we had to set the credentials on the map. Well, we're making a web service call here. You also need to set the credentials for web service calls. And you can use that same key that you use for the map, you can just use for web services. And in this case, I'm just grabbing it from the resources. And you set it to the application ID property on the credentials. And now I'm going to go ahead and make the geocode call. When the geocode call completes, it's going to call a callback, client geocode completed. So when the geocode call completes, I go ahead and get the response, and I get the result. If there's any results, I look for locations. In this case, the geocode result is returning a location rectangle. And that's a bounding rectangle signifying the best view of that item or that place. So notice here, all I had to do was just call myMapSetView with that location rect. Now in the CTP, you used to have to do a lot of conversions. You'd have to convert the types. But now the location rect from the map control is the same type as the rectangle in our platform services. Same as location. So the location rect can be used interoperably. So it makes it pretty easy to use. So that's how you use the geocode service, which is one of the simplest services. Let me show you a couple other service examples, just showcasing the power of the Bing Maps platform. We also have reverse geocode. So reverse geocode also uses the geocode service, but it's a different method. Reverse geocode is like, given a location, tell me what's there. So let's, for example, if I double click here, it gives me an address up here. Or if I double click on the Golden Gate Bridge here, it should tell me it's the Golden Gate Bridge in a second. Let's see, yeah, there we go, Golden Gate Bridge. So it pretty much tells you what's at that location. So it's very similar, the code is very similar to the geocode service, but I had to pass some additional data. I registered for the double click event. In this case, I wanted to get the location you double clicked on. So the map control will give you screen coordinates and latitude and longitude coordinates. So in this case, when you double click on the screen, I know it's a screen coordinate, which is that viewport point. And I need to convert that to a latitude and longitude. So I can call viewport point to location, and it gives me the location. Now I go ahead and make the reverse geocode request with that location, get a string back, and put it on the screen. So it's pretty simple. Okay. Now let's go to a little bit more advanced sample, routing. Let's say I want to go from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. Oops. So in this example, I'm actually using the geocode service for each of those calls, and then I'm going to use the route service once it's geocoded to put a route on the map. So as you can see here, the route line, it's a map polyline. It's rendered on the map. I kind of made some points where the key waypoints are, and if you zoom in, looks like we're having some bandwidth issues. There we go. So you can see it's on the road. How did I do that? It's very similar to the other calls, except it's a little bit more complicated because I have to make 2 geocode calls, get the results back, and then when I'm done, I want to call the route service. When the route's done, I'm going to go ahead and this is where I actually create the map polyline. So I create a line, I use the locations, stroke opacity. So that basically puts the route on the map. Let me go ahead and see, I've got a couple more minutes left. I want to show some of the other service samples. We also have something called one-click directions. So one-click directions is most of the time you know how to get out of your house, or like say you want to meet a friend somewhere. You guys know how to get on the main highway, but maybe you don't know how to get to the location from the main highway. So one-click directions lets you specify, I just want all main routes to this area. So in this case, I just clicked on the Staples Center, and it gave me routes from all the major roads in the area. And you see here, I've got 4 routes. So there's a web service call which will do that for you. And I actually rendered each one into a different map layer, and I can basically show and hide different routes. But this just kind of just showcases some of the power of the platform. We sometimes call those party maps too, because if you have a party, you can just basically show this map, and basically all your friends know how to get there. You don't need to worry about all the different routes to get there. Let me show you the search service. So the search service does a little bit of geocoding also. So like I can put search for businesses and locations in one query. So I'm going to go ahead and search for pizza in Los Angeles. And I'm making a call to the search service. Just made a SOAP call in this case, and I just put push pins on the map, and I made them numbered. So you can see I hover over here, it gives me some information about the pizza places. But you can see it's pretty smooth here. And that sample, I'm running out of time here, so I won't show the one-click direction sample, but I will show the search service sample. Very similar. I basically create a search service client. I set my options on it. I set my query to the query string. When the search is completed, in this case, I'm actually just going to create a push pin for each result. So I go through my results. I'm actually supporting multiple searches. So if I want to search for hotels, the pin color would change. But in this case, I just create a push pin, put them in a layer, and add them to the map. And it's pretty simple. Let me go ahead and show you another search sample that shows another power of Silverlight. Let's go ahead and search first for pizza, and we're over here in New York. We get some push pins on the map. Search for pizza and hotels. Excuse me. So in this case, I have 2 map layers. I just called the search service, put multiple pins on the map. But now I want to actually modify these pins so that as you zoom in, they kind of grow. Because there's an effect called power law scaling, where you can kind of change the size of the pins each frame a little bit. So you can't, it's very hard to do this with Ajax and other web technologies, but in Silverlight, you actually have control over each frame. So let me show you how I did that. So the sample is very similar to the other sample, except now I'm actually going to register for a view change on frame event. So I want to be notified every time a frame is drawn. And in this case, I'm actually going to do some calculations. I'm going to compute a scale ratio based on the current zoom level the map's at, and I'm going to scale the pins at a slightly slower rate. And I'm actually just going to iterate through the UI elements in my layer, and actually just size them, just change the width and height each frame. So as I do that, you get that nice scaling effect. Now, let me show you the map rotation sample that I promised at the beginning. Map rotation sample kind of just showcases the richness of Silverlight. Like in this case, I'm actually using a storyboard to animate the zoom level, and you see here it's pretty smooth. So I'm actually since the zoom level is a dependency property, I can just create a storyboard and animate it from zoom level 1 to 21, and I think I'm doing it in about 8 seconds. But you can also, I mean, with Silverlight, you can also start changing the X, Y, and Z axis. In this case, I'm just using the plane transforms of Silverlight. You can actually flip it around backwards. That's kind of crazy, but you can also rotate it this way. And you can also, I can set storyboards where they're all kind of rotating at once. But let's go ahead and look at the code and see how we did that. By the way, I didn't mention we also have world wrap across the date line in the Silverlight control, so there's been a lot of requests for that. Oh, thanks. Let me just show you the code of the map rotation sample if I have it here. It's actually the funny thing is it's actually, I mean, I'm hoping you're all seeing that it's very easy. Like you can do a lot of powerful stuff, and it almost seems too easy. But that's kind of what we wanted to show. We wanted to show it's not that high a barrier to entry to use our web services in Silverlight, and you can build a lot of powerful applications very fast. So in this example, here's a storyboard mapping to the zoom level. And I just have a double animation targeting my map. I'm going to animate the zoom level from 2 to 21. Oh, I guess I had it set to 10 seconds. So you can make it go even faster if you want to, but I didn't want to do that. And then I basically also have storyboards animating the X, Y, and Z rotation properties on this plane. Let me show you where the plane is. It's just a plane projection on a grid, and that's a power of Silverlight 3. And I just have some controls that go ahead and start and stop the storyboard. So in reality, there's not much code in the code behind. Mostly it's done in the XAML, but the buttons just start and stop the storyboards. So that's all it is. And what's kind of cool about this sample too is, let me go ahead and pull that one up again. I can also support out of browser. So let's go ahead and install it to the desktop. And now it's going to launch it. So now we actually have Bing Maps Silverlight running out of browser on your desktop. So I think it's pretty cool. Now that's all the demos I have. So let me jump back to the slides and show some of the links and show you how to get it. Okay. So you can download the control, and this link is kind of really long. I apologize for that. Don't worry about it. I just wanted to give you this link in case you download the slides, you can click directly. But really, you just need to go to microsoft.com/maps, and that link's on the next slide. But basically, all you got to do is download the control. It'll be an MSI package, have a CHM file. Sign up for a free account at the Bing Maps Account Center. Get a Bing Maps key. You can start using our controls and services today. And let us know. Give us feedback. Here's some more information on the slides. There's an interactive SDK, which will show, has a source code tab. It shows some of the samples. The Bing Maps platform site has links to the Web Services SDK, Silverlight SDK, Ajax SDK. And there's also more information on the developer blogs. The first blog is Chris Pendleton's community blog, and he has a lot of great information out there. The VE platform blog is my team's blog, and the final blog, that's my blog. I'm going to post the samples on the last two blogs, and I think Chris is going to link back to it. So check out there for the samples. And don't forget to fill out evaluations, MicrosoftPDC.com online, and learn more on Channel 9. And thank you very much. I appreciate it. And if you have questions, I'll be up here answering questions offline. I'll also be back at the booth because the next person is going to come in. So the Bing Maps booth in the pavilion, if you can't catch me right here, come talk to me. Thank you very much.